Hello again viewers and welcome one and all. I don't remember doing any back-to-back Sunday roast videos before, so to explain, this will be a second of a trilogy of Gastropub visits. Here today we are at the Hound in Chiswick, formerly known as the Crown, and even before that once served as a Victorian police station. This is another pub that falls under the Ardent Pub group, who aims to set the standards, or should I quote, the gold standards amongst London's beloved pubs. Tittle tattle over, I shall see you all inside by the table. So we are inside, but a slight change of plan. I did initially request for an outside table, thinking it'd be a bit more private and secluded. But a tattoo hot for me, and all the tables with the shades were spoken for. So the next best thing is to sit inside with air conditioning. So it's not too bad. Anyway, let's take a look at the menu. And welcome to the Hound here in Chiswick. For those who have seen my previous video, have the George and Fitzrovia. Yes, indeed, the menu is very similar, if not identical. That is because they are part of the same family. So consistency will carry through into today's visit. And another little visit of the wine list. I'm going to refrain from beer and ale today, as there is a reason for that, which I will review later. So it's going to have to be something that's more acidic and more in keeping with the current climate. 29 degrees Celsius today in London, middle of July. And a little view of the table, so you can see there's no salt and pepper shakers. So consistent with what we found in the George. Bottled filtered water for an extra £1 supplement. You could have a choice between fizzy and still. I'm loving these captain's armchairs, they're absolutely brilliant. They are likely to be brand new reproductions rather than reupholstered, but they're incredibly comfortable. If I might actually give that a go later on. Anyway, I'm waffling, and there is an array of used wine bottles behind me just to add a little bit more charm and character to the whole package. For regular viewers, you must know by now that I do like my linen. However, there is no linen napkins in any of these pubs, just your humble premium paper serviettes. Oh dear, I didn't hit record, so take two. On behalf of the Hound here in Chiswick, cheers, cheers. Cracking. And the first course has landed. And you heard right, this will be the first course. Don't laugh, there is a method to my madness. Not going to have much opportunity to visit these pubs again, so I'm going to have to take this chance to have their much famed fish and chips. As you can see, the signature addition of crispy batter on top, that's what captures everyone's attention. Lots of people have been raving on about it. Here we go. Crispy batter. Okay, let's take a look at the cod inside, which is the actual content itself. It looks very fresh, moist. I don't really like the word. I'll think of a better one next time. And you got your complements of crushed peas, tartar sauce, wedge of lemon, and your chips underneath. So I'm going to need 2 hands for this one. And remember, there's no salt and pepper on the table. I'm sure there's available on request. So let's see if they season this dish correctly. Oh my good grief, it's so flaky and it's just falling apart, collapsed. All I can get is a little, it's fallen off the fork. So a testament to how flaky and crispy it really is. Wish me luck. Exceptional. I'm going to be economical with words, as maybe I should show and not tell. Another piece, if I can get to it. The batter is sufficiently seasoned and put a salt in there. Lovely light, crunchy batter. Let's try a chip. The chips taste made in-house from real potatoes. And again, seasoned just right. I am roaringly impressed by this. Let's reunite the portions of cod together. There's a little bit of the lemon in there. You probably noticed I did a little switcheroony with the angle, as there's another table that's just sat down. And the table the other side, I just had a chat with them. They're cool, very friendly bunch, so enjoying their Sunday meal today. Right, so something, fish and chips. What more do you want me to say? The key is to show and not tell. So this is my first course, and I'm relieved because it's just so light. Fish is just fresh, flaky. The pastry, batter, incredible. Another chip. A little palate cleanser. Apologies, I didn't mention what I ordered. This is a Prosecco. First time I ever had a Prosecco on my channel, I believe, but it just suits the climate right now. £7 a glass, it's rather good value for money, especially as part of London Chiswick. Let's try the crushed peas. I'm not an expert on peas, let alone mushy or crushed variety. You're just going to have to forgive me. Incredibly creamy, smooth, not too bitter. Perhaps there's a little bit of cream or some butter in there. Impressive. Tartar sauce. I am a take it or leave it guy when it comes to tartar sauce. The sharpness is there, the richness of the mayonnaise to hold it all together. It's not too sweet either. Where's the salt? Where's the vinegar? You can request that, but I think it's just right. This is your matter of personal opinion, table manners, etc., etc. But I do like to eat cod with my hands, so it's a cheeky taste. The remaining half of the fillet of cod. So another cut into the spreaded batter. Another lovely mouthful of cod batter, and with the skin as well, so a complete experience here. Fish and chips and addictiveness are rarely words that I would put in the same sentence. That is until today. And as you can see there's a little bone from the fish, just to prove that this is real cod and not intensively 3D printed. And it looks like again you're off the hook on this one, viewers. It's going to be another short and sweet interlude. And the same with the George in Fitzrovia. The Hound is part of a trio of pubs that belongs under publican Dominic Jacobs' portfolio. The concept is consistent, and that is familiar food but done better, and a drinking experience built upon the back of a respectable wine and beer selection, and of course good old-fashioned customer service thrown in. The word Gastropub carries intonations of a long decline with the traditional public houses. We can debate all day about the reasons why and what we can do about it. But you can't argue that Britain has become far more vocal for its love for food, let alone beer and wine. And then there is London, which some would argue is the food capital of the world. So it is only natural for a concept such as the Gastropub to be embraced with open arms by restaurateurs and publicans to meet our ever-increasingly diverse and world-beating appetite and thirst. And the second and final course, thankfully, has landed. Porchetta rolled belly of pork, Italian-inspired dish, and an enormous carrot as garnish. Underneath we have our Savoy cabbage, and again we also have some. Let me lift the pork out of the way for a second. We got our tender stem broccoli, roast potatoes, classic accompaniments. Yorkshire pudding, generous size, but thankfully not as enormous as the one in the George. So I harped on about consistency earlier. However, there is some elements where they are a bit individual, which is great. So best of both worlds. So how do I tackle this? So crackling looks rather crispy. I'm going to have to approach this in a little bit more surgical way rather than just wade straight in. And here's a piece of the pork. The pork is packed full of seasoning and herbs, and there's aniseed or fennel seed in there, Italian-inspired influence. There's a lovely pork skin. Crackling fat is not everyone's thing, and well, I do love it. So there's a little bit for just to ascertain the quality. Melted in the mouth. Here's a piece of the crackling. I must say, this cut of pork is complete in terms of flavour, texture. What more do you want? And let's administer a little bit of the gravy before we proceed. And a little bit on the Yorkshire pudding also. There you go. Accompanying apple sauce there, which I will taste shortly. Before I continue, I have another tipple. This time a rosé again, first for this channel, but befits the climate and the food. So I've gone for the Amy X Organic Rosé from Languedoc. The condensation on the glass because it's just a hot, muggy day, but chilled just niftily. Anyway, cheers. Lovely, refreshing, and crisp, dry on the palate. Yeah, good stuff. Another piece of the pork before we cycle through the accompaniments. It is an impressive piece of pork cheddar. Often other pubs will attempt this dish and get the crackling wrong. This one, it manages to tick all the boxes. Incredible. So let's try to cut this carrot down to size. Okay, so it's medium, in the middle of al dente and mushy. I think it's a bit of a crowd-pleasing carrot. The parsley, list vegetable with freshness, and the carrot itself is just full of natural flavour. Also helps when it's cooked with its skin still on. Another piece. Let's get our roast potato into the mix. It's not as crispy as the one in the George. However, satisfying and comforting. A quick palate cleanser. Okay, so you waited long enough. Let's try the Yorkshire pudding. Let's get this to the front of stage. Thankfully, not as dense as the one in the George either. Much more of a traditional Yorkshire pudding. I should have tasted it before putting gravy on, but it's pleasant. I've just got to shuffle some items around to get to the rest of the vegetables. So we've got the tender stem broccoli. Let's cut this into two. This feels more al dente, which I prefer. Ooh, okay. Okay, Savoy cabbage time. It has that lovely homegrown flavour to it. Very reassuring. Let's get the top part of the belly out so we can admire the crackling. There you go. The best way to do this is just either cut it from the side or underneath. So let's do it that way. And here's another piece of the crackling. So with pork belly, there's going to be different layers of meat and fat, so it depends where you cut into it. I do like the area that's close to the top. A good layer of fat in there. Some people prefer the underside of the belly. You can see more meat content there. And I just realised I'm over-analysing. Okay, let's get the centre part of the porchetta. Seasoning in there. Delicious. I'm going to go for the top part of the belly. There you go. So more fat content in this one, but more succulent. Delightful. So let's try the apple sauce. Add this a little bit here. Okay. If you do need something sharp and sweet, acidic to counter the richness of the pork, that will go down just a treat, but I am happy without it. I'm just worried that this Yorkshire pudding is getting in the angle of the camera shot, so let me just get it to the other side, and I will eat a bit more of it, I promise. Okay, so go back to the potatoes. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to finish the entire plate of food for obvious reasons, but I will eat most of it just to try not to waste too much food. Let's get a bit of gravy into the potatoes and the pork. That will help. So how does it compare to the rump of beef Sunday roast at the George? I say quality is equal. There's attention to quality ingredients. Seasoning is spot on. It's just whether you prefer gigantic Yorkshire puddings or normal sized Yorkshire puddings, or if you prefer pork or beef. That's all there is to it. And they do rump of beef here, and at the George they do. But I wanted to share my meal. Where was I? So, and at the George you can also get belly and pork there and so. The gravy is impressive. It's not bone marrow like as with the rump of beef, but plenty of flavour, lots of natural fats, ingredients gone in there. Enhances the potatoes. A little bit more cabbage. How about some more carrots? Get our Yorkshire pudding back into the mix. Have another piece. So aim to eat at least 50% of this. A little bit of gravy. It is approaching a hot and hazy 5 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, and still generously convivial and buzzy. So I'm going to finish the rest of this roast off alone off camera, and I will see you outside for the wrap up. So try not to be too long. That was for Hound here in Chiswick, and that is 2 out of 3 for the Ardent Pub group. Will it be an All England hat-trick at the Cadogan Arms next? We'll have to see. So thanks again for watching, viewers. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. So until that time, you will take care now.